Welcome to King 5 Plus. I'm Greg Copeland. This is The Week, a look at what made headlines in our region, along with your weekend forecast and some stories, hopefully to make you smile. First up, a change that will hit a lot of your wallets. Sound Transit's Board of Directors has approved a 1% property tax increase for 2026 to help fund light rail expansion projects. The agency continues to face a long-term deficit to the tune of at least $20 billion. One big change it's looking into is adding fare gates to some light rail stations, and some people say that will have some added benefits. King 5's Alex McClune explains.
It's unfair to board without paying your fair share. Most people say they support a barrier to board the light rail.
I wouldn't mind. I pay.
I could see it being annoying if you had luggage or little kids.
Sound Transit is studying fare gates to improve compliance and safety. Sometimes it's a bumpy ride for Leandra Johnson.
It'd be cleaner. I think it's a good idea.
The agency is facing a $20 to $30 billion shortfall as it expands service across the region. Its CEO says a study is exploring options.
Now, I've directed staff to research and be able to present to the board a proposal for launching a pilot to install fare gates at various key stations, as well as assessing the addition of fare gates as part of all of our future designs.
One man says it's unnecessary.
No, I don't think so. I mean, you got fare enforcement.
Fare ambassadors are the face of the current compliance system. They ensure passengers have proof of payment and are sometimes backed by security.
It's about time.
The agency is losing out on an estimated $1 million each year. Just as many fans are packing T-Mobile Park this season for the Mariners, and the Seahawks season is looking promising next door.
I don't know if they're making any money off of that.
Another hurdle are these ground level stations. Stations like this might require a whole redesign.
You can't get through those bars unless you pay, and it'll keep a lot of people off of the train that doesn't need to be on there. Because a lot of people just hop on there and it's warm on there. They get on there, do their drugs, to get up there, go to sleep, throw trash everywhere.
An announcement is around the corner and expected later this year. In Seattle, Alex McClune, King 5 News.
Well, the parents of 7 children are now criminally charged following a bizarre chain of events over the weekend. King 5's Sebastian Robertson reports from the Kitsap County Courthouse.
The 2 parents are now charged with possession of a stolen vehicle and reckless endangerment. You'll notice they are not charged with the stabbing of the DoorDash driver. Those charges, though, could come. Parents of 7, Nicholas Well and Rosario Lopez Castro, were charged this afternoon, moments apart in the same courtroom. Just 2 days earlier, investigators say both were arrested, found passed out in a car wearing blood-stained clothing with their 7 children, all under the age of 9, shivering. Investigators tying them to a crime scene about an hour away. That's where they say a DoorDash driver was stabbed. His car, the same one the parents and kids were found in.
We had a Good Samaritan who is a DoorDash driver who saw them and decided, I'll stop and see if I can help out the family.
Well and Lopez Castro pleaded not guilty through their attorneys. Well is held on $500,000 bail. He was arrested and released the day before the incident for reckless driving with his kids in the car. Lopez Castro is held on $100,000, both ordered to have no contact with their children. Lopez Castro's mother, who watched the proceedings in person, says she doesn't know what happened that day.
What can I do? I don't know what can I say. I'm sorry for everything. I'm sorry to the community. I'm sorry for my daughter. I'm sorry for everything. But the more important now, it is the children's. And the children says fine. Everybody is okay.
As for the DoorDash driver that was stabbed, he is a 69-year-old man described as a Good Samaritan. As of this morning, he remains in the hospital in Seattle in the ICU. In Port Orchard, Sebastian Robertson, King 5 News.
Well, this next story affects anyone who drives back and forth across the Cascades. WashDOT had to shut down part of the interstate to tear down a damaged overpass near Cle Elum after a semi-truck carrying an oversized load slammed into it Tuesday night. King 5's Jim Nelson was there as crews began that demo Thursday night.
The demolition started just after 8 o'clock. They're going to be out here for a couple of days. And I got to tell you, traffic hasn't been that bad because this is a short detour. Drivers are able to take the exit ramp and then hop back on the freeway right on the other side of the bridge. Now, as all of this is happening, there's a new push to hold drivers who caused this damage accountable. State leaders scrambled this week.
It's got to stop. People are fed up with it.
After yet another bridge was hit by a semi-truck.
The danger of imminent harm when this happens.
WashDOT crews sent an emergency contractor into Kittitas County to start tearing down this overpass about 10 miles west of Cle Elum.
This isn't just another car accident, and we need to stop treating like another car accident.
It's at least the third such incident in western Washington over the last 2 months. This one happened just after emergency repairs were made to the White River Bridge in Pierce County.
The governor's clearly frustrated because he worked so hard to get the bridge fixed in White River, and then this dum-dum runs into it here, so here we go.
King County Councilmember Reagan Dunn wants state lawmakers to create harsher penalties that specifically hold the drivers accountable.
If you get in a vehicle and drive it with a ridiculous height, like 15, 16 feet, and you crash into something, the laws change. You're liable, and that you have to pay damages downstream.
Crews are only demolishing the portion of the Bullfrog Bridge over westbound traffic. They'll figure out how and when to rebuild later. In the meantime, Dunn will continue with what he calls the stupid motorist law.
And if we don't put something like this in place, it's going to keep happening. We want people to know that the minute they get in a vehicle that's over height, they risk substantial economic harm.
To Pierce County now, and a 24-year veteran of the sheriff's office faces charges for allegedly causing a crash in Graham more than 3 months ago. Now there are also questions about how responding deputies handled the investigation. Here's King 5's Natalie Swaby.
The prosecutor's findings reveal some responding deputies turned off their body-worn cameras. That's one of several issues the sheriff wants examined in this case. Major Chad Dickerson is the focus of this report. Court documents allege that on July 12th, Dickerson failed to yield at an intersection, causing a collision that rolled a family's Ford Expedition, injuring 2 people inside. Now the response from Pierce County deputies raises more questions.
As soon as I received this document and reviewed it, and the undersheriff reviewed it, we opened an investigation into all the conduct of the deputies involved at the scene that day.
Court documents say deputies allowed Dickerson and his family to remove items from his vehicle and pick up debris before the investigating agency, the Washington State Patrol, arrived.
That should not have happened.
Some deputies activated body-worn cameras, then turned them off.
I believe everybody that arrived at that scene that day should have had their camera on.
Sheriff Keith Swank points to a county policy he considers problematic.
The vehicle or body-worn camera should be activated in any of the following situations. The key word there is the word should. Had I been the sheriff when this was written, the key word would be shall.
Standard best practices are you don't turn off your body camera.
King 5 law enforcement analyst John Urquhart says turning off cameras can impact an investigation and notes the charges here are significant.
Vehicular assault, just by definition, someone was injured, seriously injured, by your vehicle. It's a serious charge.
Court documents state that Dickerson acknowledged drinking a couple vodka sodas earlier in the day, but said, "I don't feel like I was impaired." Toxicology results show his blood alcohol concentration was 0.09 more than 3.5 hours after the collision. He remains on paid administrative leave.
By Monday of next week, I'll let you know what I plan to do in the case of Major Dickerson.
The crash injured a child and a grandmother who fractured her vertebrae and ribs. The next court date is set for November 6th. In Tacoma, Natalie Swaby, King 5 News.
This next story has gotten a lot of attention in this region. The fate of a National Guard deployment in Portland is still tied up in the circuit court. In the meantime, we're getting a closer look at the building in Portland they're being told they will have to defend. After repeated requests, ICE allowed reporter Kyla Boshi inside its waterfront facility, and we should note that access and what could be filmed were limited. Here's Kyle.
The ICE facility in Portland has been the epicenter of protests. For months, a small group of demonstrators has gathered outside, sometimes clashing with federal officers assigned to protect it. Previously, local media had not been given access, but after repeated requests, we were allowed inside. Federal officers used an upper floor window to access the roof. Here they watched demonstrators below and in the past have used this position to fire pepper balls and other crowd-controlled devices.
Here on the roof of the building, you can see they've set up plywood to block and protect some of the windows. Also, they've got floodlights set up to shine a brighter light on the crowd below.
Several floors up on the top of the building, there are more temporary floodlights. The ICE building sits in Portland's south waterfront, neighboring sleek high-rise apartments and condos. Inside, the facility is used as an office and processing center for people accused of immigration violations.
No one was available to go on camera or provide any quotes, but I was able to sit down for more than a half an hour with local representatives from ICE and ask questions.
One topic, schools. Starting this week, local officials said they've told ICE officers to no longer stage or meet up in school parking lots after tensions in the community. They say generally they don't make arrests on school grounds. When asked why ICE officers wear masks, officials explained it's to prevent doxing. ICE officials also discussed recent cases of neighbors trying to block federal agents with their cars, including this situation in Hillsborough last week. Federal agents admit it's raised concern and forced ICE to rethink tactics, although no specifics were given. Officials note if someone interferes with an operation, it can be criminal and will be prosecuted. As for security, local officials note it's not ICE officers protecting the building. It's the Federal Protective Service and other sub-agencies. Local ICE representatives say they're still able to do their job without much interruption and admit there's been a recent surge in immigration enforcement activity in Oregon, although could not provide specifics or data.
When we return, who will be the next Seattle mayor? We're going to sit down with both candidates ahead of Election Day. And welcome back to The Week. I'm Greg Copeland. Seattle voters will soon decide who will lead the city for the next 4 years. Mayor Bruce Harrell is fighting off a challenge from political newcomer Katie Wilson. Wilson finished nearly 10 points ahead of Harrell in the August primary. King 5's Chip Nelson sat down with both candidates.
Well, a couple more weeks. How you feeling?
I feel pretty good. Like I said, people have to remember this is my 5th election, so not my first rodeo.
Mayor Bruce Harrell is all smiles down the stretch of what has become a close race.
So many people have put their kind of hopes and dreams into this campaign.
Progressive candidate Katie Wilson has never held political office, but has been in the arena through her Transit Riders Union.
I've been there working with departments as programs are designed or policies are implemented, and so I've really had that window into City Hall, how it works, how it often doesn't work very well for people.
She turned the race upside down, earning nearly 51% of the vote in the primary. The incumbent Harrell finished at 41%.
I have a city to run, and there are some very challenging issues. It takes a lot of time, a lot of work, a lot of experience.
In a post-primary surge, Harrell has a huge fundraising lead. A pro-Harrell PAC has raised $1.6 million compared to Wilson's $357,000. The mayor has also surpassed Wilson in individual contributions, collecting $1 million to Wilson's $976,000.
You know, I think it's hard to be prepared for $1 million+ being spent attacking you.
This job is too big to have a learning curve.
They're playing a little dirty.
Key issues include public safety and soaring rents.
And that has, been the driver of our worsening homelessness crisis. And so part of this is that we do need to allow much more housing to be built in our great neighborhoods around the city. And we also need more public investment in housing, right? And that's one of the reasons why I'm a really strong supporter of social housing.
When my opponent's talking about putting homeless people in that affordable housing, which takes away from the teachers and the baristas and the social workers, that's bad policy. Our homelessness system is in collaboration with the county, and what we can do better is make sure that we as Seattle, we're getting the best bang for the buck.
For him, this election comes down to building on 4 years of work.
I love the job, and so it's a lot of work, but we're up for it and we feel pretty good.
For Wilson, it's about change.
I really believe that we can make some transformational change together.
Well, our next story will make you think a little harder about high blood pressure or cholesterol if you have it. Such signs could dramatically influence your chances of a serious cardiac event. Christine Pei has this week's Health Link.
The new research shows more than 99% of people who suffered a cardiac event like a heart attack or stroke already had a common risk factor.
I had had a lifetime of very severe heart disease, which I had mostly ignored and neglected.
Aaron Holm was diagnosed with a genetic condition that caused very high levels of cholesterol in his 20s after a misdiagnosis of heart arrhythmia. For the fit athlete who played volleyball for the University of Toronto, Holm's cholesterol should have been a warning sign, a sign he chose to ignore at the time.
I was just checked out. I tuned out from, I didn't go to a doctor for like 20 years.
For a while, he said he felt his chest clench up during workouts. Then one morning in 2018, he went for a swim in Lake Sammamish.
And it happened in the water and I couldn't reset. And so I thought I was going to die. I thought I was going to drown.
He made it back to shore safely, but decided to see a doctor. Tests later, doctors told him he needed quintuple bypass surgery because of a blockage in his heart. He was only 46 years old at the time.
That's the thing about heart disease is oftentimes it doesn't present. You have people that have issues and they look great. Like they look really healthy. They exercise all the time.
Holmes' case is similar to a global cohort of patients in the study published in the Journal of the American College of Cardiology this fall. It analyzed records of 7,000 U.S. adults and 9 million from South Korea for more than a decade. It concluded that most cardiac events don't strike by complete surprise. 4 precursors like high blood pressure, blood sugar, cholesterol, and smoking went unaddressed before a patient experienced heart disease.
And the more of these risk factors you gather along the pathway of life, the greater your risk later in life of having a heart attack.
Dr. Sarah Speck is a cardiologist and medical director of cardiac rehabilitation at Providence Swedish. She says the first step to prevention is know your numbers.
Know what your cholesterol is, know what your blood pressure is, know what your blood sugar is. These are simple tests that any physician can perform for you.
She adds 80% of heart disease is under our control. Speck recommends a diet rich in fruits, vegetables, and fish, quitting smoking, and being active for even 20 minutes every day, which can translate into a healthier, longer life. For Holm, his cholesterol is now low thanks to medication.
Seek out people who've had the similar experience. So find a way to talk to someone who's been through what you're going through, because you really, you don't have to be alone.
Well, coming up, he has comforted victims, calmed witnesses, and brought courage to the courtroom, saying goodbye as this courthouse dog heads off to retirement. Well, new use for old technology could open the door for a direct phone line to orcas, unlocking what could be some of the best marine mammal tracking yet. Meteorologist Leah Pizzetti with our Environment Northwest team shows us how it works.
One single new underwater cable
Pick it up, Slack.
is making a splash in marine mammal research. This 2-kilometer-long fiber optic cable, funded by Allen Family Philanthropies, is now sitting on the seafloor just off the San Juan Islands, one that's similar to others already around the Sound.
There are fiber optic cables everywhere. That's why we get internet. But we can use the same fiber for monitoring marine mammals.
But Dr. Shima Abadi with the University of Washington Bothel's School of Oceanography says this one is a first of its kind because of its intended use. Cables like this have already been used to measure low-frequency signals like earthquakes and tsunamis, but scientists want to know if it can measure the high-frequency sounds orcas make, and if they can tap into the network of fiber optic cables already in place.
We can basically use all the fiber optic cables that are in either Puget Sound or some other locations and use them as a new platform for passive acoustics monitoring of marine mammals.
Here's how it works. Laser pulses throughout the cable will measure if there's any strain along the cable, which could be caused by acoustic sounds like vessels or marine animals.
We are using light to listen to their sound.
President of Beam Research Dr. Scott Veers says this gives much better insight to orca movements compared to the hydrophones used now.
The goal of this project is not just to determine if the fiber optic cable can hear killer whale calls, but we want to see if we can then locate or localize where the call came from. So that's something you can't do with just one hydrophone in the water. But the DAS cable we just deployed here is 2 kilometers long, and we can break that up into virtual hydrophones, hundreds, even thousands of them. So it's like having thousands of ears in the water all at once. being able to say, oh, not only do I hear a killer whale, but it's up there at that latitude and longitude and that depth. Oh, and then it called again. Now it's a little deeper.
Location knowledge that will help people steer clear of orcas wherever they should go.
And that could help with understanding like long-term policies, like, oh, they're always foraging here. Well, maybe we should make a preserve in this area. Or they're heading north. Well, that means it's okay to do some pile driving to the south.
Well, for years, he's offered quiet comfort in some of King County's toughest courtrooms, helping trauma survivors through the legal process. Now the King County Prosecuting Attorney's Office is saying farewell to one of its most loyal team members, a dog whose compassion changed countless lives. King 5's Natalie Swaby shows us Errol's heartwarming send-off.
For Errol,
he's very interested in the camera.
It's one of his last official walks through his workplace. After a decade of service, King County's courthouse dog is calling it a career.
I just think we're all feeling a little nostalgic and a little sad and also just honored to have had this time with him.
Errol became a fixture on the 5th floor, joining prosecutors when he was just 2 years old. Over the years, he's provided crucial comfort to crime survivors and witnesses during difficult cases.
Speeding driver, hit and run driver. Yep, a lot of impaired drivers. And of course, Lindsay was killed, and those are her beautiful sons.
The crash left the mom's boys behind. The oldest, Malachi, witnessed the aftermath. Prosecutors wanted him to testify against the intoxicated driver who killed his mother, but trauma silenced him, creating a dilemma.
What sort of, strategies if this little boy will never open up and talk to us, because he wouldn't speak to us.
That's where Errol stepped in, helping Malachi face his worst memories in court. The dog sat beside him during the proceedings that ended with a conviction. He also eased the pain for Army veteran Brent Arancio's family.
Brent was a very good man.
A robber killed him, leaving behind young sons who formed a connection with the canine.
To where a dog is able to make a child who lost his dad to murder feel like something in this world is okay. And to me, that's huge.
Here, Errol spent his days seeking out ways to serve.
Errol get?
Meeting of the Metropolitan King County Council.
It's why King County Council chambers filled with visitors waiting for Errol to make his entrance.
A proclamation to recognize a retiring member of our county's workforce, Errol.
He's done so much work individually with different people on so many different levels, and to have that be honored by the county is just really wonderful.
Clearly going to be missed. Thanks for your time. We hope you'll join us every Friday evening for another look at the biggest stories of the week.